I'm joined by Nancy Lewis as well, and I'm going to turn it over to her to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming out on such a snowy day. My name is Nancy Lewis, and I work for the state of Vermont in the Department of Education in Child Nutrition Programs. And my responsibilities include administering the 2 summer food programs that we have. So I'm the person that would get you set up on the computer to get reimbursement, answer any technical questions. I'm the person that actually works with you to administer the program.
And I also want to take a quick second to thank my colleagues, Laura Feldbach and Jonathan Harris, who are working behind the scenes to ensure that the webinar runs smoothly. Okay, so before we begin the webinar, we'd like to review some of the basic functions of webinar technology. You should be able to see a small side panel on your screen. This is where you can see the audio information, and this is also where you can ask questions. If your side panel is hidden, all you need to do is click on this little arrow here, and it will open it back up. You can also use the arrow to minimize your screen. Now, in the audio window of the side panel, you have the option of using a telephone to call into the webinar or using a microphone and speakers attached to your computer. Choose just one option. If you are using a telephone, the number to call, the access ID, and the PIN number you need are all listed right there on the panel. If you're having trouble hearing me or having trouble with your screen, you can email jcarrot@hungerfreevt.org, or you can call him at 865-0255. He is standing by ready to help you with your any challenges that you encounter. Now, Nancy and I will be stopping periodically to answer any questions that arise as we progress throughout the webinar. There are 2 ways that you can ask questions. One way you can ask questions is by typing them into the question log on your panel. All of these questions will be recorded in a file, so if we're not able to answer all the questions in the time we have today, we will follow up with everyone after the webinar with answers to the questions. Now, the second way you can ask a question is you can do that live, and you do that by raising your hand here on the panel. And when you see that your hand is raised during the question and answer session, Laura will unmute you and announce you. You can go ahead and ask your question live for everyone to hear. Now, if you choose to ask live, we ask that you speak into your telephone. We've had trouble in the past hearing people using a microphone on their computers. And we also want to let you know that we are recording the entire webinar so that others can view it in the future. We will provide you with more information about the recording at the end of the webinar. So finally, we want to say webinar technology is a great thing, especially on days like today. If you don't want to venture outside, you can watch the presentation right from your computer. But sometimes there are glitches here and there. So we ask that you please bear with us if we encounter any difficulties. That being said, we are ready to begin.
So we are thrilled to have a mix of people joining the webinar today. And we are believing that everybody is interested in learning about how summer food can happen in your community or with an existing program that you have. But first, before we tell you more about it, we'd like to learn a little more about you. So to do that, we're going to take a quick poll. I'm going to ask our organizer, Laura, to go ahead and post the question. And the question is, where do you want to feed children this summer? You want to feed them in a school enrichment program, a Boys and Girls Club, a Parks and Recreation program, a church, a library, or some other place. So go ahead and click your answer now. We'll wait just a minute or so and give everyone time to show a response. Okay, it looks like everybody's recorded a response. And as you can see in the results, which I'm actually having a hard time reading, I can tell that most people are interested in a school enrichment program. So there is some commonality amongst you. So moving on, thank you very much for helping with that. Despite the fact that you all fulfill very different roles in the community, you all share one thing in common, and that's that you all interact with kids during the summer months. And we know that many of you devote a great deal of time and energy into engaging and caring for children when schools are closed and parents are working. So we're going to spend the next few minutes talking about 2 federal nutrition programs that help feed kids during the summer months. Then you will hear from others who actually are running programs now and utilize one of the nutrition programs. Finally, we'll end the webinar with time for questions. So let's begin with the basics of the summer food program.
So as Nancy said, there are 2 federal nutrition programs that will reimburse community for feeding children during the summer months. The first is called the Summer Food Service Program, also SFSP. The other option is the National School Lunch Program, Seamless Summer Option. Now, what you need to know is that there are only minor differences between the 2 programs. And we're going to actually be describing them in much greater detail in the future so that you have a better sense of which one will work better for your community.
So even though we're not getting into the details now, and a future webinar will, we want you to know right now that both of these programs, Summer Food Service Program and Seamless Summer Option, are administered by the United States Department of Agriculture at the national level. On a local level, the programs are administered by the Vermont Department of Education, and that's the department I work for. That's where Child Nutrition Programs is located. So that means that the Department of Education processes applications and claims, and we can answer any questions you have about the regulations surrounding either program within child nutrition programs.
So moving on with the basics, every summer food program begins with a sponsor. The sponsor fills out the program application, they create a budget, and they communicate directly with the Department of Education. In most cases, the sponsor is the one that prepares and then provides meals to a nearby site. Sites can be anything from an enrichment program to libraries to a park to a pool, church, or more. So there are a range of places where you can offer meals.
So you're hearing that there are different flavors of sponsors, and there are also different ways that they set up their sponsorship. Some sponsors only serve meals to one site, so it's a one-to-one sponsor-to-site setup. Other sponsors have a bunch of different sites. They serve meals at multiple sites. For example, you're going to hear from Steve Marinelli at Spalding High School in Barrie, and that high school is the sponsor, and Steve and his team prepare and deliver meals to 17 different sites throughout Washington County. His sites include a summer camp run by Montpelier Parks and Recreation, the Aldrich Public Library, the Barrie City Pool, and others. And so you can see the sponsor itself can have a variety of sites. Even though the sponsor is one type, the sites within it can be different types of organizations.
Yeah. And now, if you and your community decide to start a summer food program, Nancy and I can help you determine whether or not it's in your best interest to become the sponsor or to simply receive meals from a nearby sponsor and just become one of the sites that we're talking about. And we can help you arrange all of those details.
So as you're probably guessing, with the reimbursement also come some guidelines. And again, we're not going to get into too much detail today, but we put up a little bit about the meal pattern there. So the USDA requires sponsors to follow a set of guidelines when they're preparing snacks and meals. For example, when planning a lunch menu, sponsors are required to incorporate milk, meat, or some other source of protein, vegetables and or fruit, and a grain or bread. So you could imagine there are many meals you can create with these basic guidelines, and we're showing you one sample lunch here that includes milk, a turkey sandwich, cucumber sticks, and watermelon slices. So we are going to cover the meal guidelines in much greater detail in a future webinar.
We mentioned earlier that the sponsor is reimbursed for serving snacks and meals that meet these nutrition guidelines that Nancy just spoke about. Reimbursement rates vary depending on which meal program you use and where your program is located. But at the highest level, a sponsor can get reimbursed up to 76 cents for each snack, $1.85 for each breakfast, and $3.25 for a lunch and a supper. So the purpose of this reimbursement system really prevents children, parents, and the summer programs from drawing on their personal or program funds to buy food. That being said, we want to pause for a quick second here, and we want to give people a chance to ask questions. So a reminder, you can type your question into the question box, or you can click on the hand icon in your panel, which will alert Laura that you will have a live question. So we're just going to pause for a second to see if anyone has a question. Okay, so it doesn't look like anyone has a question, but again, as we're going through, we will have another time at the end of the webinar to take questions if they come up. Oh, it looks like one came up. I'm going to ask our organizer, Laura, to go ahead and read that question.
Okay, this is a question from Shane Oakes. Is there a current list of sponsors throughout the state?
I'll take that. This is Nancy. Shane, what happens is people renew or sign up each year, almost like starting the program brand new, because it's just summer food, and there are deadlines for doing that, and we've just sent out a request for intent to participate. So we are gathering that information right now to find out who is going to participate in the summer programs. And then over the next month or two, they'll be getting set up in the system. And I'm expecting by mid-May that we will have a list of people of sponsors and people who are providing summer food programs. And we also plan to publish an open site list via the 211 telephone number that people can call for services. And not to belabor this too much, but there is a regulation in place this year that says that the schools, we need to help the schools do outreach before the end of the school year to let families know about the open sites that are available to their kids over the summer. So that will also be happening. So there will be more coming, and more information will be available in mid-May.
Right, and one other thing I'll add is that that information is not posted publicly anywhere right now, but as Nancy said, we'll know for sure later in the spring who is going to be in sponsor, but we can also look back at last year to get a sense of who was operating. And so if we need to help a site find a sponsor now, we can start that process now.
Absolutely, and when we get to the end of this webinar, there will be contact information you can call either Emily or me, or write us a note, and we'd be happy to provide some more information about who sponsored last year, who's in your area. I'm not really sure where, what's behind your question, so just know that we'd be happy to help you further.
Thanks, Shane, for your question. Laura, do we have any other questions?
Yes, we have a question from Melody Troy. Do the meals have to be prepared meals and served to individuals?
Do they have to be prepared meals and served to individuals? So I would say that each community finds different ways of preparing their meals. They happen in different kitchens, in different locations, and each community finds a way to prepare those meals. Now, those meals can be served in different ways as well. You could put a meal in a paper bag and distribute those individually to children, but you can also set it up in more of a, what do you call it?
A family style. Some camps are allowed to do a family-style setting if there's a staff person there to see that children get a minimum amount of each required item on their plate. But I'm wondering if the question is really coming a little further. We haven't talked about the requirement that children eat the food at a site, and also that a full meal is served to the child to get reimbursement. So that might be helpful to know that this is not set up to send a meal home with kids. It's designed to provide reimbursement for meals that children eat while they are attending the site.
Right. Meals need to be served at a congregate setting, which means kids are together, so they can't be delivered home. And also, just a little further clarification, family style, the other way of serving meals, means that you just put all the food out on a table or wherever the food is, so that you can serve out a serving size to each kid, as opposed to putting the meal in a bag and handing them out that way.
And let me just add one more thing in case this relates to it. You don't have to cook from scratch. There can be some pre-packaged foods used, so maybe that was part of what you were asking about. We prefer that people cook and prepare from scratch because it's the best way to get a nutritious, high-quality meal put together, but it is not required. It's just required that you meet the guidelines for the meal components.
Right. So thank you for that question. Do we have any other questions, Laura?
Yes, we do. This is from Diana Fenning. Can a school district who has a food service that works with them apply for summer just as they do during the school year?
Absolutely, Diana. This is Nancy again. There are two options available for a school programs. You could do something that's called the seamless summer option, which assumes you're using the same food service people, the same facilities, the same training and experience that you had during the school year, and continuing through the summer to provide food to a summer program. That reimburses at a different rate than the summer food service program, which is available to schools and also to other community organizations. And so I could help you figure out which option is best for you. We have materials on our website that compare the two options, but absolutely this is this summer food, either of the summer food programs would work for schools.
And we really encourage food service directors and school-based systems to participate in the programs, because they already have a knowledge of how these major federal nutrition programs operate. So they've got a lot of background behind them to help them get started that some other communities might not have. So we definitely encourage that. Okay, I think that we are going to go ahead and move on with the webinar. Thank you for your questions, and if more come up, hold on to them for the end of the webinar.
So before we hear from other summer food providers, people who are already have experience with summer food, we want to talk briefly about why you might want to do a summer food program, why it's important, and the benefits it has to offer children, parents, and communities. The nutrition programs address a growing hunger crisis in Vermont. Over 30,000 children rely on free and reduced price meals during the school year. So when the school cafeterias close for the summer, many of these children lose access to the most reliable source of balanced nutrition that they had. In fact, if you were to gather 5 children who regularly eat free or reduced price school meals, only one of those children will have access to free meals during the summer. Clearly, children living in low-income households are at a much greater risk of going hungry or missing balanced meals during the summer. Vermont has a great need for more sponsors and sites. And the summer nutrition program saves communities money. The reimbursement rates are meant to cover meal expenses so that summer programs don't have to draw on their limited budgets. And during the school year, many parents also rely on free and reduced meals provided by the school. During the summer, those parents are suddenly in a position to have to buy extra food. And our summer nutrition programs really help parents stretch their budgets. finally, the summer nutrition programs employ people during the summer months. We recently spoke with one food service provider at school who explained that summer food program employs his staff throughout the summer, which not only extends their paychecks, it also enables them to take full advantage of health benefits the school has to offer. And we saw that many of you are in school, so you can just think about how that might play out in your community, what happens with those people, what happens with the kids in your community over the summertime. You might find that it's really a motivator to think about how to make summer food happen if it's not already in your community.
So now we want to give you the opportunity to hear from experienced summer food sponsors and sites around our state. We are really excited that summer food providers were willing to share their experiences with us. So we have a video to share with you. Unfortunately, the webinar service doesn't really accommodate videos. So what we're going to do is ask you to watch a video using your own internet browser. In just a moment, our organizer, Laura, is going to post the link to the video. The link should show right up in your panel. All you need to do is click on the link, and it will take you directly to the video on YouTube. And the video is about 7 minutes long. And when the video ends, we're going to ask that you please return to the webinar so that we can continue with our presentation and our discussions. Now, if for some reason you're having a problem, you could manually type the link into your browser. You'll see it here on our screen. Or you can call Jonathan at 865-0255 for help. The one thing you don't want to do is exit out of the webinar by hitting the little X in the upper right-hand corner of your panel. So that being said, we're going to ask Laura to go ahead and post the link in the box on the panel. And then once that's there, feel free to click on it, and we will see you back here in about 8 to 10 minutes. Enjoy.
And we're also give you tips on recruiting staff and volunteers and arranging kitchen facilities. Finally, we'll need to talk about how to submit claims and how to get reimbursed. But if you can't wait until March, you're welcome to give us a call anytime, and we'll give you more information. We'll talk with you over the phone and help you out. So we are here to help, and we are going to post our contact information at the end of the webinar, and we just encourage you to do whatever you need to do to get the information you need for summer programming.
Okay, we're going to take this time now for more questions. Again, type them into the box or raise your hand. We'll wait just a second to see if people have questions. Laura, have any questions come up?
I don't see any new questions right now.
Okay, we'll wait just a few more seconds.
We have a question from Teresa Felix. Do you have to be associated with a school?
Hi, Teresa. It's Nancy. No, you don't. The Summer Food Service Program is available to any not-for-profit organization. So there are many, many flavors of organizations that serve summer food through the Summer Food Service Program.
Laura, do we have any other questions?
No more questions. Teresa says thanks.
Yeah,
Very
Teresa.
welcome.
So within the next day or two, we're going to send everyone a link to to this presentation so you can look back over it at your convenience or share it with other people. And it will include a link to the video and our contact information, which you can now see, so that you will have the information you need to move forward.
And I just want to reiterate what Nancy said earlier. We definitely encourage you to sign up for the next webinar. But if you have any other questions or just want to know more about what this would look like in your community, give one of us a call, and we can walk you through that. So that being said, we want to thank you all for participating in this webinar and all your hard work ensuring that children are well cared for. And we're going to say goodbye, and this concludes our webinar. Thank you.